Emma had always trusted her mother, Linda, implicitly. From childhood scraped knees to teenage heartbreaks, Linda had been the constant. So when Emma received a lucrative job offer across the country, one that promised a brighter future for her and Sophie, her 7-year-old daughter, she didn't hesitate to ask her mother for help. "Mom, I need you to take care of Sophie for a while," she had said, her voice tinged with both hope and guilt. "I'll send you the money for everything, her school, her lessons, her little luxuries. I'm trusting you with $280,000. Linda's eyes sparkled, and she pulled Emma into a tight hug. "Of course, sweetheart. Don't worry about a thing. Sophie will have everything she needs, and then some." Emma left feeling relieved. The weight of leaving her daughter behind was enormous, but she believed in her mother. She imagined Sophie laughing with her grandmother, learning piano, going on little trips, and having everything Emma could provide if she were there. It seemed perfect at first, it was. Linda sent photos of Sophie smiling in her ballet outfit, a new backpack on her back, books stacked neatly in her room. Emma's heart lifted. Sophie's laughter over the phone filled the silence of her empty apartment, and Emma felt gratitude, even admiration, for her mother. She thought, maybe she really can do this. But little cracks began to appear. It was subtle at first, a luxury handbag for Sophie that Emma didn't remember approving, an elaborate birthday party that seemed beyond what the budget allowed, trips to places Sophie had never mentioned wanting to go. Emma brushed it off, assuming her mother was just indulging her granddaughter a little. After all, she had the money for it. Then came the bills. Emma had a spreadsheet, tracking every dollar, thinking that keeping organized would reassure her. But discrepancies appeared, a tuition payment missing here, a medical bill unexplained there. Emma emailed Linda politely, asking for clarifications, and received warm, vague answers. "I've got it covered, honey, don't worry about it." It should have comforted her, but something in Linda's tone made Emma's chest tighten. She had always been able to read her mother's moods, and now there was a flicker of evasion she couldn't ignore. Emma tried not to dwell on it. After all, this was her mother, the woman who had held her hand through every crisis. Yet every call began to carry a shadow of doubt, and then Sophie started saying things innocent, off-hand remarks that gnawed at Emma's sense of security. "Mommy," Sophie said one afternoon over the phone, "Grandma said we can go to that hotel with the big pool because it's free for her friends." Emma froze. "Free friends of Grandma?" "Yes," Sophie replied, twirling her hair. "She said it's like a secret club, and she bought me new shoes there, Mommy, real fancy ones." Emma's mind raced. A hotel with a secret club, fancy shoes. Where was all this coming from, and why wasn't it on the budget? That night, she sat staring at her laptop, scrolling through the bank transfers she had made to her mother. Every number, every line, felt like it might hide a betrayal she didn't want to imagine. But deep inside, a gnawing fear began to grow. What if Linda isn't spending this money on Sophie at all? She shook her head, trying to silence the suspicion. No, it can't be. She's my mother. She loves Sophie. She would never, but doubt had taken root, and Emma felt powerless. She had given her mother everything she needed to raise Sophie in comfort and security, and now the possibility that it had all been misused made her stomach turn. Trust, once absolute, now felt fragile, like a thin sheet of glass ready to shatter under the slightest pressure. As Emma lay awake that night, she replayed Sophie's innocent words over and over. The fancy shoes, the hotel trips, the friends of Grandma. Each detail seemed minor alone, but together they painted a troubling picture. She had to know the truth, but she feared it more than anything. For the first time in her life, Emma felt betrayed not by an enemy, but by the person she had believed would protect her child above all else. And she knew deep down that this was only the beginning of a storm she wasn't yet prepared for. Sophie had always been observant, her 7-year-old mind sharp and curious. She noticed details adults assumed she wouldn't, tiny inconsistencies, little secrets, and the way people spoke when they thought no one was listening. Emma had always admired this trait, but now, with her heart heavy with unease, it became a double-edged sword. It started with small remarks. One afternoon, during a video call, Sophie held up a bright pink dress that shimmered under the sunlight streaming through the window. Look, Mommy, Grandma said this is from a new boutique she likes. She said it's very exclusive. Emma forced a smile. It's beautiful, sweetheart. Did you need it? Sophie tilted her head. No, Grandma said I should have it because it makes me special. Something about that phrasing made Emma pause. Special? She asked cautiously. Yes, Sophie said, eyes sparkling. Grandma said everyone at the hotel will notice me because my dress is expensive. She said we have to look really good when we go there. Emma's stomach sank. Hotel, expensive boutique, Mom, she thought. This doesn't sound like spending on Sophie. It sounds like indulgence for show. Days passed, and Sophie continued to reveal little pieces of a puzzle Emma didn't want to see. She mentioned the spa trips Linda insisted they take together. Grandma said I can have chocolate facials and my nails painted like princesses. Sophie said casually one morning, perched on the couch with a coloring book. Emma's hand froze mid-email to a colleague. Chocolate facials, the word budget, flashed through her mind, and she felt a cold knot tighten in her chest. Then came the outing to the secret club Sophie had mentioned earlier. Sophie spoke of it with a mix of awe and pride. Grandma says the hotel is for special people. We went swimming in the big pool and she bought me a pink towel with my name on it. She said it's a gift from her friends. Emma gritted her teeth. Friends of hers at my expense. She started quietly investigating, checking bank statements and tracing transfers. Every luxury Sophie described, the boutique dress, spa trips, hotel outings, corresponded to significant sums of money that weren't supposed to be part of Sophie's care. One evening, Sophie tugged on Emma's sleeve during a call. Mommy, do you want to see something? Emma smiled faintly, trying to mask the anxiety gnawing at her. Of course, sweetheart, show me. Sophie ran off screen and returned with a small, intricately carved jewelry box. Grandma said I can keep it. She said it's for someone very special, and she picked it out herself. Emma's throat tightened. Sophie, did Grandma buy this with her own money? Sophie blinked innocently. I don't know. She said she got it for me, and it was a secret gift. Emma swallowed hard, realizing that her daughter's innocence was a perfect lens for the truth. If Sophie could innocently describe these luxuries, Emma could trace the money back to their source. The more Sophie spoke, the more details emerged. Expensive dinners, frequent trips to upscale shopping districts, fancy hotel stays, all billed under her mother's name, all disguised as Sophie's gifts. And Sophie, in her naive honesty, never realized that the indulgences weren't truly hers. They were part of a lifestyle Linda had carved out for herself, funded by Emma's hard-earned money. Emma felt a mixture of anger, disbelief, and heartbreak. She had trusted her mother to nurture her child, to prioritize Sophie above all else. Instead, she had built a gilded playground for herself, masking it as generosity. Sophie, unaware of the turmoil she had ignited, continued chatting happily. Grandma says when I'm older, I'll understand why she does all this for me. She says it's love, Mommy. Emma's vision blurred. The words love and betrayal collided in her mind. She realized that Linda's version of love was self-serving, a betrayal disguised as care. That night, Emma lay awake, piecing together the puzzle her daughter had unknowingly revealed. Every innocent remark, every gleeful description of a lavish outing or purchase was proof. Proof that Linda had taken €280,000 and spent it on herself under the guise of raising Sophie. But amidst the heartbreak, a small spark of determination ignited. Sophie's honesty, her naive revelations, had given Emma the clarity she needed. She would not let this betrayal stand. She would uncover every hidden expense, expose every lie, and ensure her daughter received the childhood she had promised, not the one her grandmother had manufactured for herself. And deep down, Emma understood that the first step toward justice would come not through anger, but through patience, planning, and the unassuming truth that only a child could reveal. Emma's hands trembled as she dialed her mother's number. The phone rang 3 times before Linda's familiar, cheerful voice answered. Emma, how's my girl doing? Linda chirped, as if nothing were wrong. Emma forced herself to speak evenly. Mom, we need to talk. It's about Sophie and the money I sent for her care. There was a pause on the other end, just long enough to make Emma's heart pound in her chest. Of course, sweetie. What's wrong? Emma took a deep breath, steadying herself. Mom, I know how much I sent you. I trusted you to take care of Sophie, her school, her health, her lessons. I thought that money was going directly to her. Linda's voice softened, almost soothingly. Emma, you know I would never let her down. I love Sophie as much as you do. Emma's fingers dug into the edge of the table. Then why, Mom, why are you spending it on yourself? The dresses, the spa trips, the hotel clubs, Sophie told me everything. She doesn't even understand it's wrong, but I do. There was a long silence. Emma imagined her mother's smile faltering, the practiced warmth slipping. Finally, Linda sighed. Emma, I had to. It wasn't enough to just watch her grow. I wanted to give her the best experiences. Yes, some of it was for me too, but don't you see, I sacrificed for her in my own way. Emma's chest tightened. Sacrificed, Mom? I trusted you with her life, her childhood. This isn't sacrifice. This is theft. You've taken what was meant to nurture my daughter and turned it into your own fantasy. I did it out of love, Emma. Linda's voice cracked now, but the defensiveness remained. I gave her everything. Everything I thought she deserved. Emma shook her head, even though Linda couldn't see her. You don't get it. You didn't give her anything she needed. You gave her things you wanted to show off, a 7-year-old doesn't need luxury hotels or spa days. She needs stability, school, love. Real love, not extravagance. The line went quiet again. Emma could almost hear the gears turning in her mother's mind, a mixture of guilt and rationalization. And in that moment, the mother she had adored, the one who had always been her protector, felt like a stranger. Mom, I don't know if I can ever trust you again, Emma said softly, her voice breaking. Sophie is innocent in all of this, but you've stolen her childhood. Linda's voice softened, pleading now. Emma, please, I didn't think. You didn't think. Emma's voice rose slightly, shaking with rage and heartbreak. You took $280,000 and treated it like it was yours. You think that's okay. You think loving her gives you the right to betray me. A sob caught in Emma's throat, and for a moment she sat in stunned silence, hearing only her mother's quiet breaths over the phone. I need time to figure out what to do, Emma said finally, voice firm despite the quiver beneath it. I can't just forgive this, Mom, not yet. Not until I know that Sophie is safe and that I can trust you, or anyone, to look out for her. Linda's voice faltered, almost whispering. Emma, I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. Emma closed her eyes. You thought for yourself. That's all I see. After hanging up, Emma sank into her chair, feeling a hollow ache. She had expected anger, maybe a fight, but this was deeper than that. Betrayal wasn't just about the money. It was about trust, love, and the sanctity of family. And now she had to confront not just her mother, but herself. How could she protect Sophie from someone who was supposed to be her ally? But amidst the pain, determination sparked. Emma knew she couldn't rely on hope or vague promises. She needed proof, a plan, and leverage to ensure Linda could never do this again. She needed Sophie's innocence to be her guide, the quiet observations her daughter had made as evidence of the betrayal. And as she traced the transactions, revisited the gifts, and documented every indulgence her mother had enjoyed at Sophie's expense, Emma realized that revenge, sweet, justified, and meticulous, was no longer a thought, it was a necessity. She would expose Linda's actions, reclaim what had been stolen, and ensure that her daughter had the childhood she deserved. But it wouldn't be a rush to anger. It would be calculated, emotionally sharp, and unforgettable. Emma's heart ached, but beneath the sorrow, a resolve grew. Linda had underestimated her daughter's mother. She had underestimated Emma's strength, and most of all, she had underestimated the innocent truth that a 7-year-old could reveal truth that would set everything right. The fallout had begun, and Emma was ready. Emma spent the next few weeks quietly gathering evidence. Every lavish purchase, every hotel stay, every extravagant gift Linda had shared with Sophie was meticulously documented. She had Sophie's innocent statements, photographs, and receipts lined up like pieces of a puzzle. What her mother had taken for granted, the child's honesty was now her greatest weapon. She didn't rush. Revenge wasn't about impulsive anger. It was about precision. Each phone call, each email, Each family gathering became a careful move in a game Linda didn't even realize she was playing. The first step was reclaiming the money. Emma approached a financial advisor and outlined the situation, showing the paper trail. Every indulgence her mother had enjoyed at Sophie's expense could be traced. Legal action was possible, but Emma wanted more than money back. She wanted exposure, a lesson Linda would never forget. Then came the social aspect. Emma reached out to a few family members who had always trusted Linda's stories of devotion and sacrifice. Using Sophie's own words, innocent descriptions of hotels, boutique dresses, spa days, Emma presented a timeline that was impossible to dispute. Each revelation hit like a hammer. The gifts were not for Sophie. The special outings were indulgences for Linda, and the money Emma had entrusted for her daughter's care had been misappropriated. Linda, predictably, tried to deny everything at first. She claimed misunderstanding, the pressure of caring for a child, even twisted justifications of love. But Emma remained calm, her voice steady and unwavering. Sophie, unaware of the storm she had helped expose, innocently recounted details in emails and videos. "Grandma said we went to the hotel because it's free for her friends," Sophie would say. "She bought me the pink dress herself." The statements coming from a 7-year-old were impossible to dispute. Emma didn't humiliate her mother publicly in a cruel way. Instead, she orchestrated a slow unveiling, letting the truth sink in for everyone who had ever believed Linda's perfect grandmother image. Friends, relatives, and even members of the community who had admired Linda's generosity were shocked. The veneer of indulgent care crumbled under the weight of honest, childlike observation. Then came the final step, reclaiming Sophie's rightful childhood. Emma poured the reclaimed funds into the things that mattered most: Sophie's schooling, extracurricular lessons she had always wanted, family outings that prioritized experiences over ostentation. No boutique dresses purchased for vanity, no hotel trips to impress anyone, only thoughtful care. Sophie noticed the change almost immediately. "Mommy," she said one morning as they walked to the park, "why are we going to the library instead of the spa?" Emma smiled, her chest tight with emotion. "Because, sweetie, this is what you really need. We're going to make your days about learning, friends, and happiness, not just things." Sophie's face lit up with understanding. Even at 7, she could sense the difference between love and indulgence, honesty and deception. Emma realized that in teaching her daughter the truth through example, not just words, she had begun to heal the wound Linda had caused. Linda, meanwhile, retreated into isolation. Friends who had once praised her called her out. Family who had admired her loyalty now questioned her morality. The realization that her selfish choices had consequences and that she had been outmaneuvered by the very daughter she thought naive was crushing. Emma didn't celebrate her suffering openly, but she felt the quiet satisfaction of justice served, and Sophie. She flourished, she learned the power of honesty, the strength of discernment, and the unwavering love of a mother who had protected her from betrayal. Emma knew the lesson would stay with her. Trust was precious, but truth, especially when revealed through innocence, was unbreakable. At night, Emma would sometimes look at Sophie asleep, remembering the weeks of heartbreak, betrayal, and revelation. A lump would rise in her throat at the memory of her mother's smiles and lies, but then she would remember the child's laughter, the reclaimed dreams, the honest joy in Sophie's eyes. And she knew whatever pain had been endured, whatever money had been misused, the ending was hers to shape. The betrayal had been deep, sharp, and personal, but Emma had turned it into something more profound: protection, justice, and the triumph of careful, heartfelt strategy over greed and deception. The story of $280,000 of innocence betrayed and lessons learned had reached its conclusion. And in the quiet of their restored home life, with Sophie giggling over a new book and Emma watching proudly, there was something sweeter than revenge. It was the restoration of love, honesty, and trust that had been almost lost.